Hello, my name is Javier Cantonquil, so today I'll talk about my evidence tree, in which I focus on the execution control crucial projects. First, I'll answer a few questions before talking about my experiences in projects. The first question is, what are the essential steps to carry out effective agile execution control and closure of a project? To carry out the first three aspects, you have to carry out agile planning. Agile planning is a technique in which you split projects into phases in order to address them separately and to secure an advance of the project itself. You can also apply Scrum techniques. Scrum techniques mainly goes about adapting into, to develop project not quite too deep. You have to leave spaces in cases of, the time deviation for any kind of the problems that might arise during a project. For the closure of a project, you should always do retrospective analysis in order to see what went bad and what went good and why it went bad or good. And you should also have stakeholder communication, at the end in order to assure good communication for the next projects in order to have a good project. What are the main tools to use? You should do scheduling tools such as Gantt and timelines. These are done in order to see how the tasks are distributed and how they should be achieved. And collaboration tools, which are such as messaging, file sharing, discussion boards. These are all done between the agents of the same project. What do the progress report and project closure report consist of? The progress report is a report in which you show the status of tasks, milestones achieved, risks identified, and changes in project plan. This is done at the beginning and through the project itself. And finally, for the project closure report, you should include those aspects, mainly because you should see this report when you revisit that kind of project in order to, to share the project, or when you have to clarify something that happened during the project. It should be everything in there. How do we ensure that project execution adheres to the project plan? You should carry out a PEP, a project execution plan. This is an outline of the project, which includes the project scope, the roles and responsibilities, the timeline, the resource allocation, risk management, and communication plan. How do we adjust the project schedule considering variations that arise? You should assess the impact of the variation that happens. You have to update the project baseline. You have to revisit the critical path. You should also do the resource allocation, in which you see which materials you have available in order to do certain tasks, and you have to accommodate the tasks as the critical path. You should do scaling compression techniques, in which you have to reduce times in order to achieve the due date. You should create contingency plans and as well communication. Describe those indicators. Cost variance is the difference between the earned value and the actual cost. The earned value is the value of the completed work, and the actual cost is the actual cost of the project. The earned value is done at the time that the analysis is done. The percentage cost variance is that value, the cost variance, but as a percentage of the budget itself. And the cost performance index, it assesses a project's financial performance and efficiency. So that unit shows you how efficiently your project is in a financial way. So yeah. Okay, the next indicator is schedule variance. Schedule variance measures how far the work deviates from the planned timeline. So this shows how your plan, how your work, your critical path, and your Gantt has been achieved. And in case it doesn't, you can use that data in order to get an estimate on when will you finish. The scale performance index, it shows you how the proportion of the completed work to the scheduled work. So it shows you if you were scheduled to finish, 2 tasks this week and you have finished 1, that will show you there, and it shows you how efficient your project is. And the cost performance index, it assesses the cost of efficiency. Okay, finally, for the cell model, I'll talk about an experience I had in a project by doing planning and by doing mainly the appliances of agile execution and, that kind of stuff. Well, the last semester I worked in a project in which several, in a manufacturing project in which several issues came because we have issues with the robots itself. So we have a due date of 2 weeks. And for the first week and a half, the robot didn't work. So we have to we have to do an outline of the project. So the first 3 days we had manufacturing dates. We also had to program the robot, and we have to try and execute this kind of issue. Unfortunately, due to the fact that the robot wasn't working well, we have to dedicate the whole week to manufacturing plans and to do an estimate on how we will do the tracing routes. And by the time when the robot was working, we were able to distribute the tasks and to do several moves in order to achieve the final date. Also, 1 year ago, I had a project in which I have to do an analysis, and financial analysis. This was done by doing a ROI, a return of investment. And well, I haven't done any projects which include earned value, actual cost, but now that I have learned those abilities, I'm pretty sure I will use them in several other projects because they're quite good tools and they will show you proficient at a professional level if your project is able to sustain itself. Thank you for your attention.